So hey everybody, just wanted to show you a little bit about my yard today, especially this miniature little 3-row vineyard I've got going on here. So I've got grapes growing on 1, 2, 3 rows in the corner of my yard here. This is Southern California in January. This one you see in front here, this is a Brazilian cherry. A little too hot. I'm in the more desert area away from the coast. A little too hot for my Brazilian cherry. It's not producing very well out here. But the grapes are doing pretty well. I live near a wine country area, and for us, these are table grapes. Just so you know, some other things going on over here, and hey, you know, I'm making a lot of mistakes in my yard. Just figuring it out as I go, so I'll point out some things that I would have done differently. But just so you know what's going on over here, right there, that bushy green thing, that actually dropped from a kumquat tree. The fruit dropped and sprouted that thing. And I just figured, hey, it's growing, so I'll let it grow. It's been there for about 6 years, is not producing anything, but you know, it's green, it's alive, so I'll let it be. Next to it, I've got a navel orange there. Another orange there. Those are both slightly buried too deep. They're not doing particularly well. My mistake there is that this big shade tree, oh my goodness, I had no idea it was gonna get so big, and its root system was gonna spread out so much. So those orange trees, they really shouldn't be there. I should have put those on the other side of the yard. It's too crowded over there for them. Even that big shade tree, its root system may even, I wouldn't be surprised, be going all the way over to the grapes. So I am squishing some things in a small space, but you know, without having a bigger yard, this is a way that I can at least try some different things to grow and appreciate some different fruits and different things. So besides that, I've got geranium growing in a pot there, and I don't know what kind of shade tree that is, but it is growing fast, and I'm constantly trimming it down. If you look closely, and you might see through the video, I've got all sorts of cuttings from that tree, and waiting for the leaves to dry out and cut up those branches to turn them into wood chips. So the posts on my grapes here, these posts are 4 inches in diameter. They're about 8 feet tall, and I buried them about 2 feet in the ground. Poured some concrete mix down in there to hold them in real well. They're at a slant, and the rows are about 6 to 8 feet between each other. I wouldn't go any closer than that. A little bit farther apart would be fine. So I think this one's about 8 feet across between these two, and this is more like 6.5 feet between these two. They are about 15 to 20 feet long. So this one is the shortest. This one gets a little longer, and the one up against the fence goes way back to the corner. So those are between 15 to 20 feet long. I started with one vine over there on the other side of this post. You'll see over there. I just want to see how that went, if it was going to survive. It did. So I said, hey, let me try some more. If I were to do it again, I would only do 1 vine per row. I thought I would need 2 vines per row, but no, 1 would be enough. So I've got 2 vines on that row, 2 vines on the middle row. I do have just 1 vine on the last row. And I do like the way that one's growing and spreading out. So 15 to 20 feet long per row. And this is a red flame seedless grape. I'll wait for the airplane here. This is a red flame seedless grape, and 1 per row, with a row being about 15 to 20 feet long. That would have been, I think, better than squishing 2 per row like I have. So let's take a closer look at some of this. I made a wire system here using some vices that I drilled into. I drilled a hole into the post and put the vise in there. My wire has broken off of this one. Kids come around and they play with the wires and do some stuff, and so it broke off from that. But if no one's touching it, the wires will stay there a long time. But I'll leave a link down below so you can see what these vices are. Wire vise. to help with this wire system. So drill a hole on this side, drill the hole on this side, and then fed that wire through. Once the wire feeds through over here, put it through the vise and secure the vise with a couple of screws. So I'd put 3 wires in. The first wire is maybe 2.5 feet off the ground. So yeah, I've probably got 2 to 2.5 feet between each wire, okay? I used stainless steel wires at first. I like the strength of the stainless steel. They do rust a little bit, which to me is okay. I think the rust adds a little character, but if you don't like the rust, find something that won't rust. When I needed some more wires, I went with an aluminum. So this one is aluminum. The kids like to make some shapes out of it. But I'll tell you, these aluminum wires, if you do like shiny wires and you don't want it to rust, these are great. These have been in for a couple 3 years and no rust at all, but they are weaker. Even though they're about the same gauge, they're quite a bit weaker than the stainless steel. So think about the wires you might want. I'll leave a couple of links below for some options of wires and see what you want to go with there. Just make sure that your wire diameter is compatible with your vise to make sure it's going to fit the same size. So I've got 3 wires going up, 1, 2, and 3. My idea here was to let the main trunk grow, let the vine grow from the main trunk area, and then have a major branch coming over this way and another one that way, and then let it grow up to the second and to the third wire, and then have another major branch and vine coming over that way. So this would be a like a letter T, but then times 2, right? So another one going across the top. So again, I've got 2 here, 1 vine planted there, 1 vine planted here. They really are too close, so 1 per row would have been enough. Again, it's January, so there's no leaves on here. This is the time to prune these. We're going to prune these today. I'm going to do a time lapse of that as I get started, but to help explain a little bit how I'm pruning these, and I would, if anyone's got, I am no pro, right? I'm no pro. I'm just a backyard gardener doing it himself and learning as I go. I do have a drip system. You can see the drip line there. It's otherwise buried under the wood chips. But I'm no pro here, so any suggestions, anything that you would recommend to everybody watching this, put it down below. We can all learn. I'll show you my general approach for pruning these each year. And again, if somebody's got some better ideas here, that would be fantastic. Let's all learn and help each other out. So I would say if you've just moved into a house and maybe there's some grapes growing in the back and you're wondering what in the world do you do with these? How are you supposed to prune these? And if like me, when I started, even now I consider myself a beginner. I'm just learning as I go, but if you want just the basics of, hey, help me get a handle on this thing, what do I want to do? Well, here's the thing. So let the main parts grow and have in mind where you want the main growth to be. Then anything growing off the main branches, these shoots here, I'm going to prune those, okay? Every year I prune these to about this high, just really short, just little, a little 1/2 inch to 1 inch remaining, okay? And that's going to be about 1 foot. That's going to be approximately 12 inches, maybe even up to 2 feet, okay? 1 to 2 feet in between each shoot, okay? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to cut there. I'm going to cut here, okay? And I'm going to keep going, all right? Keep going to the end there. When the growth is fresh and flexible, you want to try to train the vines to go across your wires. I didn't do a fantastic job training, and so my vine has dropped quite a bit below the wire. There are some spots though where it's hanging on through some old vines that curled up around and it's hanging on. Otherwise, it does have kind of its own strength as well. Over the years, the wood gets thicker and stronger, and so it is kind of holding on, sturdy anyway. but if you can train that vine to grow along the wire, that'll help it stay in place and give you a nice shape to your grapevines, to your vineyard, your backyard vineyard. Okay, so we'll prune at each one of those shoots coming up. We want the shoots to be growing upward, so anything that grows downward, I would cut off. But I do that during the year while it's growing. Also during the growing season, I'm surprised at how much these grow, how rapid and aggressively they grow. I am constantly trimming back. I can never trim back. I can never seem to keep up with the rapid growth. So I've got growth coming out of all sorts of places and angles where it really shouldn't, because I have a hard time keeping up with it. But you get the idea there. So in your head, in your mind, you really want to imagine, where do you want it to be? And you really got to get a handle on it, because if yours is like mine, they do grow aggressively. It's going to grow every which way, and you got to make it do what you want it to do. So we'll do the time lapse in a second here where you can see all that pruning. But again, because I've got another one that's a little too close here, I'm going to cut quite a bit more here, because I want this one to be growing that way more. And then I want this one to be growing with that little bit of space it has there, and I'll give it this kind of space too. So with that in mind, you can see, you'll be able to see how this pruning goes. Okay, so I've got these 2 rows pruned, and all these vines that we cut off, I'm gonna cut them into a new layer of wood chips. So might as well take some time, and maybe I'll get some helpers out for this, but you know, don't toss those vines away. It's good wood, good for wood chips, good for the next layer to go on the top of the soil, and it'll break down over time and provide nutrients to the next generation of grapes growing for the next season. Okay, we've got just about all those grapevines that were pruned cut up into smaller wood chips. You can see some tree branch cuttings that are still there that are in larger pieces, but we've got the grapevines pruned. Oh, missed one here. That's okay. We'll come back and get that one. But you see, that's the height there that we leave those shoots. This wood from last year's growth, or last season's growth, this wood from last year's growth, we just kind of train on the wire a little bit so it keeps the shape and the form that we're looking for. And it looks very clean, very bare at this point, but that's what you want. Okay, we've got it shaped and trained, going across either direction. You can tell that there's older wood from previous seasons. For whatever reason, the growth has just been more consistent. It was easier to train in years past on that part, and that's why that wood is older and thicker. Whereas for whatever reason, I just had a hard time always getting anything trained over this way, but pulled it off this last season, got this vine growing over and trained that way. So looking forward to getting that one all shaped up correctly. So there you have it. Hope you can at least see, you know, if you move into a house with some grapes in the backyard and you're wondering, what do I do with this? How do I cut this? What do I leave it? What do I do? You know, just follow this. Check out some other videos and resources. I'm sure you can learn a lot more in some other places, some more specifics, more details. But this is a basic look at how to take care of these vines.